Welcome back to my channel. My name is Jerry, and in today's movie, I want to explain who God is in my way and what I have discovered in my research who and what the real God is. So let's just jump into it. Hi, everybody. My name is Jerry, and I want to talk about spirituality. So, I want to explain who God is, and I do this because if you're talking about spirituality, and this is the thing I've seen with a lot of people, is that they struggle with spirituality. They jump into spirituality, but they don't know exactly what, for instance, the reason of life is. And if you understand God, what God is, and what God wants, and how the God started, then you will understand spirituality more, and you know also towards what you need to work to. You know what you need to work on and how to think. And I will explain that how to think. So let's first just explain. Let me just tell you God. Who is God? In my vision, and the thing that resonates the most with my heart, with my inner being, is that God is the universe, and we are part of the body of God. So you will see that Jesus said, "You are God." We all are God, and together we are co creating this universe, this way of living with all of its rules, with its positive and its negative sides. So, to explain God, first, or the universe, or let's just say the source of everything would be a better name for God. The source of everything. Without this source, nothing would exist. And how does this works? So imagine from our 3D standpoint, because there are many different realities and parallel universes that we don't see and we don't understand. And but we know that we have a 3D reality. But that means that there are many more dimensions. D stands for dimensions. There are many more dimensions up and the more dimensions down. And there are part of the dimensions we don't see. So if you don't see part of the dimensions of our reality, of our consciousness, of our universe, that means that there is a veil over our consciousness and over our and over our sight understanding. So listen, people, I can only explain it from a 3D consciousness standpoint, and this is the best way I can explain it. I'm gonna start with a beginning and a end. but there is no beginning and there is no end. But just look at in our system, we have a beginning, we have an end, we have a past, and we have a present and a future. So that's why I'm explaining it that way. But it all exists at now at the same time. It all exists now, past, present, and future. But let's go back. So this is my explanation. Imagine yourself. There is total nothingness, darkness. First, you need to understand that God is a mind, is consciousness. So there is total darkness, and there is in the darkness, there is a spark of energy. One spark of energy that's creating consciousness. And this part of energy is becoming aware of itself. But now, if you can understand that if you close your eyes, I cannot make it totally dark, but I will edit it. If you can understand that there is total darkness, no walls, no end, no beginning, no start point, then the spark of light, the consciousness, is the spark, is the start point. And the spark of light becomes conscious of itself. But to become conscious of yourself, to be aware of yourself, consciousness starts to ask, who am I? And from that way of thinking, of being conscious of itself, it started to create a second consciousness. So there was a split of one energy part in two energy parts. So from one consciousness became two particles that became conscious of itself. The best way to explain it, if you have like a egg, an egg, you have the sperm cell and the egg cell. So if you have the egg cell is one. The egg cell is one. Just look at the hole. And now what does the one do? It splits each other. Is it one? And it splits each other. So one egg and then splits. They become two eggs. And these two eggs do the same. They are one, they split, and they grow again. And then they grow again. And then split, become two, grow again. And again, and again, and again, and again, and again. So this is the flower of life. This is why the flower of life is so famous in most of the spiritual people. They walk with the flower of life around their neck, or they put him in the car, or they hang him somewhere on the wall. And so this is a pure representation. This is a pure representation of the beginning of consciousness, how consciousness started. So if that happened, that means if we are now, okay, so now you have the multiplying of one particle of energy that became many particles of energy. and many consciousness. And these particles of energies, they spread over. So this was a little bit with the Big Bang theory, is with there was nothing and then boom, everything started to expand and exploded, only from the ask, the wanting to know, who am I? And who am I can only exist if there are opposites, because the one is complementing the other one. So now we have the creation of the opposites. We have left and right, one and two, up and down, hot and cold. Without the other one, you cannot understand the other one. You need the one of them. You need both to understand the whole system. So now that you understand how you need the opposites, and that's why you have the opposites, the extremes, left and right, and you will see it all over in the universe, in our universe, is that even in politics they have left, right, the opposites, temperature, weight, strength, weakness, and so forth. Everything. There is actually a third one in it, and people forget always that the problem is when you live in one of these opposites, you can only see the other side of the problem. And that's why there is a third system. And you will find this everywhere. You will find the Trinity. You will find cold, warm, but there is the middle. You have, even in counting, you have 0 is the middle, and you have 100 on the left, minus 100, etc. With weight is the same. There is always a midpoint. And the one I want to explain to you, which is the most important one. So you have past, present, and future. Everything happens in the present, in the now. The future, if you think in the future, you're thinking in the now about the future. If you're thinking about the past, you're thinking in the now about the past. So it all happens, the secret is in the now. It all happens in the middle. In the middle, you can see both sides. If there is a war and you stand neutral, you will see both sides, the pain of both sides. You will see the goodness of both sides, but you will see the badness of both sides. You will see everything of both sides. But if you stand on one side, you will only see the bad of the other side. So always try to stand in the middle, at the part which is in equilibrium. So now the most important thing is that God wanted to experience and know feel what living is. So for that way to live, to feel and experience, you need to understand all of the laws and rules that are active at that universe or that dimension. I'm only going to talk about this universe and this dimension because I know about this universe and this and these dimensions that are visible in this universe. So now to understand what God wants is for you to experience and learn, and the last one is actually teach, because you have to bring it back to the source and explain it to the source what you have experienced, and if it was good and bad and how did you came out of it. So always you have to find the reason, the why, how, what. You need to know what you're talking about. If a certain situation in your life comes up, you need to bring it back to source. But to bring it back to source, you need the whole content. You need to know everything about it. And what actually happens with us is when we have a bad situation in our life. If we have a bad situation in our life, we want to dismiss it, push it down, not look at it, avoid it. But how can you avoid something and still come back and explain what happened, how to get out of it, how did it feel, what was the downside and what was the upside of it? The only way for you to explain this and tell the story back, what you have experienced and what you have learned from it, is if you have put all of your consciousness. Listen again, it starts again with consciousness, being aware what happened, being aware what the consequences was, good or bad, and then put a positive mindset behind it, change your opinion about it, and then try to explain it in a way that you know that this was all a lesson for you. Lessons. So the key words are here: experience and lessons. What is the experience? What is the lesson? What is the experience? What is the lesson? How did I get out of it? How did I get into it? How did I get out of it? What is the lesson? How did it feel? What did it cause? What negative effect that it had on me and on the people around me and on the environment around me, on the universe around me? And also what positive effect did it have around me, on the things around me? Now, if you understand these things, then you can always tell it back to source. After you have died, you come back to source and I can explain. I don't think it's after you're dead, but I think it's immediate. Of course, it happens at the same time. The same time you experience it, and the same time you understand it, at the same time you bring it back to source. But now source is not stupid. Source always knows that not if you have understood what the lesson was, you must see it as a test. If you have an exam, they will ask you because they know the answers. Source knows the answers. Source knows the answers. But you have to formulate it in a way that source, or you know that you know what you're talking about. This is when they ask you, you have to do a scripture on a certain subject. You do that because, and you have to write it down in such a way that you need to know what the positive side, the downside, everything. You need to know all of the details of this subject. So, if now in your life things go bad, the easy way is to say, I don't want to know it, I don't want to see it, I don't care, I'm pushing it away, throwing it out of the window, trying to look the other way. But source is always asking, hey, you didn't finish this topic. You need to finish this topic. I'm still waiting for you. Do you know what you're talking about? Do you know what you experienced? Do you know what the problem is? Do you know the downside, the upside? Do you know all of the problems, good and bad, what has been created by this topic? So if you push it away with alcohol, drugs, television, everything that takes your mindset and your awareness away from this subject, if you do that and you don't understand all of the facets of how it works, all of the details, then this subject will strangely but understandingly, it will keep playing in your reality. So this is where you see when people, they're struggling in life, or their mind is in a loop. They're looping everything. Every time they're looping a same problem, because the problem has not yet been studied. And when you study the problem and you understand how it works, the problem immediately disappears, because that means you now know all of the details from the problem, how it works. And that if it doesn't, even so, you've put all of your consciousness and attention to it and it's still there, that means it is not solved in a right way yet. It's not finished yet. Check it out. You will see it with a lot of people. They get stuck. When you talk with them, you can already tell them, listen, the problem is that you're in a certain mindset because you have put a negative connotation on this subject, and this subject is still active in your system because you're angry. And subjects will be active in your system if they are positive. But the problem, when they are positive, they're not a problem. But when they are negative, they are a problem. And you need to go deep into the negative and then come back and then see the positive side. And then again, stand from the neutral standpoint and look at both ways and see the difference. In the neutral stand, even in the happy stand, you cannot find the best solution. Go to the neutral state and check it from a neutral standpoint. You see that a lot with people when they are negative, they're angry, they're sad, they're whatever, and then they come to a mindset that they're tired of being angry and they're tired of being sad, and they do the other way around. So they used to be angry and now they're happy. They're happy all the time, happy all the time, happy all the time, happy all the time. But then they're now swinging on the other side of the pendulum, the happy side of the pendulum. And they cannot see the problem with being happy all the time. And there is a problem with being happy all the time. There is again a layer, a filter over your consciousness, because you're like, I am happy. I don't see war going on. I don't see, the negativity in on the earth anymore. I'm only happy, only want to be happy. I had that one after a terrible 12 years relationship with a narcissistic ex. When I came out of it, I was happy all the time. I refused to be mad. But the problem is when you when you refuse to be mad and you only want to be happy all the time, people tend to use you as a doormat, because you're not, everything is good. It's good. No worry, it's good. Don't worry, it's good. Don't worry, it's good. And they misuse you. They use you as a doormat. They use you all for, especially narcissistic people. So you attract more narcissistic people if you now are happy all the time and you don't put your healthy boundaries and say, no, I'm not for that. I am a happy guy, but that doesn't mean that you can do whatever you want with me. So this is what I'm talking about, coming back to the middle. You don't have to be angry to say no to people. And you don't have to be happy to say no to people. Or yes to people. If you say yes to people, you don't have to be angry. I'm happy because I said yes. No. I don't want. I'm sorry. I don't want. And I'm still happy. I'm happy because I choose mine. I choose myself. I choose to be in the middle. In myself. Not in the past, not in the future. Not your opinion, not someone else's opinion. My opinion. In the middle. And this thing my mother explained it to me. Jerry said, Jerry, the thing you need to strive always for is to be in the middle, to find the balance. The problem is that when I heard this from my mother, I said, okay, the balance. I was thinking about a scale, And then later I understood that the balance is not always equal. The balance is more like a taste. So it's not a weight thing, but it's more a taste thing. It's more to explain it the easy way, I think is if when you're cooking, you don't put 1 kilogram of salt and 1 kilogram of rice. No. You put a pinch of salt and you put 1 kilogram of rice. Or potatoes, and you put vegetables, and you put a little bit of meat, and you put, that's the balance. It's an all-over balance. So, I'm very happy to have made this movie. It took me a while again to make a movie, but I want to thank you for watching. I hope you understand and go back to yourself and ask yourself, does this resonate more to my heart, to my core, or does religion? If religion resonates more to your core, you go. Don't worry. You don't have to. You're not obliged. I am not. You have to do this. You have to do that. No. Check it out. My intentions are to explain religion in a way that you can understand religion better, and then you don't have to do all of the struggles that I have gone through, or maybe you're already in it, but you can get out of it. It's a bird. And thank you for watching. Hope to see you next time. Bye bye.